Happy Sunday, guys. Welcome back to the channel. We are here with another stock watch video. We're going to be going over two stocks that I think are going to be in play this week and should be primed for some trading. The first one is going to be Lucid, who is just now being moved to the NASDAQ 100 and has also been selling off for the past few sessions. They should be primed for a bounce and make for a good play. Secondly is going to be Rivian, who has just recently IPO'd, so their price has been all the way up to the 170s and back all the way down below 100 before bouncing back up and finding value. They're going to be reporting earnings, so I'm kind of curious to see where they may move. So we're going to look at some levels and see what their area of adjustment may be. If you guys do enjoy the video, please feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, and go ahead and hit that thumbs up from my homie Fonzie.
All right, here we are on the Lucid weekly chart. Lucid has only been out since last year, obviously January, February of 21 is when we first had some real action on Lucid, and you can see here when it first popped, it really went to the moon. We had a run up which went up into the $60 level, and then we had another gap down day where it basically gave back about half of that value. And then we fell back down, and we basically found value this entire year right around the $25 mark. The reason being, Lucid was one of those EV makers that really didn't have a product that was being sold to the public yet, so there wasn't really a lot of momentum. It was more about speculation. Having said that, there was a lot of momentum behind the EV sector, which basically, it pushed Lucid along with it. Everybody knew that it was just a matter of time before they announced their release or a partnership with someone, and their stock price just ripped up. So nobody really wanted to sell everything, but they wanted to just stay invested and keep a small part, which is what you see here, which is why we had so much moving up and down. Now, these days weren't really crucial to day trade, and unfortunately, it really didn't give a lot of day trading opportunities until the past month. I know November was one of the big day trading months for Lucid that I was in it probably every day that I was looking to day trade. So let's jump over to the daily level, and here we're going to see just that. This is where the volume started coming in on Lucid, and then we had right at the beginning of November when we just had really large movement days, and since then we've been having patterns of basically a rip up, a move back down to the EMA, a rip up, then a sell back off. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight what I'm showing you guys. That way we can kind of get an idea of what we're going to look for in the future. Here was right at the beginning of November when we had this push. We found the top where it got oversold, and then it sold back off, which kind of pulled us back down to this moving average. Then it pushed back up and gapped up again, fell back down to the moving average, and then we settled out right around the $46 level. We had another really big push, but unfortunately when it came back down, it just couldn't make the same move on up. What that shows us is it basically reached a level where everybody's like, okay, until you start showing us some real numbers, some real momentum, we're going to have to hold off for a minute. And what we see here at the end of this daily, in case you guys didn't know, there was an SEC probe on Lucid around their SPAC deal. So this is why we have had this massive sell-off from around the $56 to $57 level all the way down to the previous level of 38, which is where we are right now as of today. This would have been a wonderful short opportunity from around 47 for the past few days and the past few trading sessions. As far as levels go for next week, again, remember, they are going to be listed on the NASDAQ 100. A lot more people are going to be looking at this stock. So what I'm looking for, if there is any more sell-off on Lucid around the SEC probe or anything like that, we're looking for another gap down, which could be a fill all the way back down between the 33 and the 34 level. Considering we're still at around 37.5 right now, that would only be another $3 gap down, so I really don't see that being impossible. Now, as far as a gap up, what I would keep my eyes on would be another fill back up to this previous day open, which was right around the 41.48 level. Again, we're looking at an average range of around $3 to $4 move, and that's not a real big move for Lucid. So the big thing that I'm going to look for is what happens in the morning. Pre-market value. Are people going to want to buy this dip on Lucid, or are they still going to be bearish until they see what's coming out with a probe, what's happening with their cars as far as sales go, and just really what the volume around the EV sector as a whole. All right, here we are on Rivian. Now, as you know, they just recently IPO'd the 10th of last month, where their price just went to the moon. Everybody wanted to jump in because they saw the product and they knew that it was going to be a really big rival to Tesla as far as the trucks go, and the price definitely reflects that. It opened right around the 100 level, and then I remember it dipping down to around 96 IPO day before just completely ripping up. This is where it closed at, and then the next day it just basically went to the moon. That would have been a beautiful entry price and a wonderful chance to sell when it gapped up here. Unfortunately, the next day it looks like everybody took their profits and ran away from Rivian because we had two massive gap down days, which brought us all the way here. We bounced back up, but this is where we had the continual pull down, and then eventually at the beginning of this month we had the pull back below 100 before moving on up. As you can see here on the daily, we've really established value between 126 and 116, and we've basically found this channel which we're going to want to sit in until earnings come out. The big thing for Rivian is that you want to realize their earnings are more going to be speculative, considering they're not really pushing out mass amounts of vehicles to the road yet, so they're going to want to go off of pre-orders and what their futures are going to predict, and that's what investors are going to be looking towards. Our gap up levels are going to look something like this. So here we have the 104 level, which represents the 200 EMA and is a really big support / resistance level on the dailies for the most part. And as you can see here, we had a bounce right here, a move up above the 200 this day, and then we had to move on up to where it was trying to get close to value around the 124 to 126 level. If we do see a pullback, then I would expect it to come down and test the 200 EMA before moving any closer, which this should be right around 105. Hopefully, if it does sell off, it won't move, or it shouldn't close any lower than that. It may bounce back down around 100, but hopefully it'll stay above that as far as the closing for the day and for the week. Now, if it does move up and there's a lot of good news on the sales and investors get really, really bullish, then what we can look for is going to be a move back up to VWAP and possibly higher. Right now, VWAP is sitting around 128, and we do have, again, value, which is around 124 to 126. Now, our daily levels would be right around there as far as a really solid top. We do have these candles, which are obviously higher than where we closed at, but I'm looking for a really big move. I'm not looking for a little small candle before I start trying to day trade this. Now, having said all that stuff, we are in a consolidation area where we've had this bounce, this go up to that level, bounce back down to the 200. So you can see the pivot range is starting to close very tightly. So hopefully when we get a rip, it's either going to move one way or the other really strongly. And again, 127 to 128 should be around the VWAP level. That's looking at around a $12 move. If Rivian can do that in a week, that would actually be a really good move, and then we may look to higher levels, which could be around this candle here on the daily, which is looking at the 140s. So really the range right now is between the 200 EMA, which is around 104 to 105, somewhere in that average area, and then we want to look to 127 and then up to 140 for a higher move if investors come in with a lot of good sentiment. All right, thanks you guys for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed these videos. It's a lot of technical analysis, I know that, and a lot of folks aren't really into that, but it does help you see the levels if you're looking to future invest in these stocks, or if you're also looking to see what they do to short them on bad news. Take care, have a great weekend.